thanks for showing up. And let me introduce Vivian Agnew. She will be speaking on her involvement as co-coordinator of the American Democracy Project.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so as she said, my name is Vivian Agnew, and I'm a co-coordinator of the American Democracy Project. In my office with me as well is Morgan Lawrence. She's a junior here. She'll be graduating in December of next year, and she is a management major with a minor in finance, and I'm a political science major with an emphasis in law. So I was very attracted to this position when they told me it was open. It's something that I'm interested in, especially because a lot of what the American Democracy Project does is civic engagement, specifically with political issues. So it was a very exciting opportunity, I thought.
Vivian, where'd you come from?
I came from Wichita, Kansas.
Okay.
So the history of the American Democracy Project, we started in September of 2003. We were one of the first 140 schools in the nation to have a program like this. The only other program, I think, in Kansas is Emporia State. But Dr. Gould invited Christy Brungart to work and sort of lead this project at like the beginning, and so now we're in the Center for Civic Leadership. But it's definitely exciting. The New York Times is a co-sponsor of our program. That's part of the reason we have that cool little New York Times thing going on here at the school and that position with them. And then, yeah, we have the other EDM project in Emporia State University. So we're kind of unique, so that's very exciting. The readership program that we have is, again, part of the New York Times. Since they sponsor the American Democracy Project, there are people who they used to send actual newspapers here. And in fact, I think that before the American Democracy Project was on campus, we didn't get the New York Times. They had to ship them in from like Salina, which was kind of exciting to learn. But yeah, Christy Brungart sort of spearheaded that. We also have that program with the Hayes Daily News, I think. And so they, again, deliver papers here just so people are informed on like local and national issues. So yeah, the Hayes Daily News and then the New York Times, and that's moved to digital, and we were talking about it earlier, but it's definitely a really cool program to have. It's neat to see those little notifications pop up. I feel very well informed now that I have that app. But yeah, they're very popular reads. And feel free at any time to like stop me and ask questions or whatever. So our e-citizenship initiative started in 2008, and FHSU was one of the first charter schools. I know that Chapman-Rackaway had a lot to do with that, and that's part of our Tiger Talkback initiative that we do. The board in the Memorial Union, that question that you see is also posted on Twitter, and we send it out on the all-user email so that people are getting that information digitally as well. Our Tiger Talkback board was based off the Democracy Plaza, and that's like a similar idea. They used to have 2 boards because so many people were responding at IU, PUI, and we started it in 2010 here at FHSU. We moved the question to Twitter because it's a platform that a lot more people were using, and we do get some pretty good responses off of Twitter, so that's nice. When we started in 2012, we got 209 followers that same year, and now we have 585. It's grown to about 200 followers in this past year, which is exciting for us to see all these new followers and more people hearing that question. Even if they're not always responding, the fact that it's something that's coming up on their newsfeed, it's something that they're reading, and some of these responses it's just kind of motivating. They're seeing these questions and at least thinking about them maybe. Responses vary. Like more prevalent national issues will get like a couple more responses, and sometimes when we see very like interesting local issues, we'll see a lot more responses, but we usually get about 10 to 30 on Twitter, and then the board gets quite a few as well. So it's always occasionally we even get emails back. People respond to the question in our email, which is always kind of funny. But yeah, so 10 to 30 a week. Part of the reason that we do the Tiger Talkback question is because it raises awareness of national issues. It lets people sort of understand these. Sometimes the way we phrase the question is very broad, and sometimes it's very specific, and that kind of helps to like start a discussion over a specific point or topic on an issue, and then it branches out from there. I don't know if you ever stop and read the boards, but sometimes people have little conversations and they draw their arrows, or people will respond to people's things on Twitter. And I always find that very exciting. People are engaging in like these kind of critical debates and discussions, and I'm sure that they're talking about them in other places too. I just see people reading the board, so it's always very interesting to see the way that students get sort of motivated. And it also helps them to think critically about the way that some of these issues can affect their lives. Like when we talk about Kansas legislation or like funding or things like that, it's just opening students' eyes, I think, and giving them a better idea of what's happening politically.
I would add a little bit of value to your comment, I hope, in the sense that we try to tie it to issues in the New York Times, the questions, so that we hope the two would engage,
Yeah.
and more people would make use of the New York Times. So that was one of the original motivations, to try to get it together, so to speak.
Oh yeah, certainly. And another thing we do with that, I'm glad you said something because it reminded me. We also look for articles that work with a particular topic, and we post that link on Twitter so that people, if they're unfamiliar with an issue, they can hopefully read something before they just post a comment. And we also have those QR codes taped to the board, so you can use your phone to scan that, and again, like look at that article. So thank you for that. But yeah, see a lot of stuff there. We also have time stocks. The wonderful library staff helps us facilitate those. And those are on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. On Tuesdays, they're from 12 to 1, and on Wednesdays, they're from 12:30 to 1:30. And we have quite a few of those over like a wide variety of topics. At the beginning of each semester, we sort of send out an email, and we ask people if they'd be interested in giving a time talk. And the New York Times helps to sponsor the food and drinks and stuff for that. Actually, they sponsor it in its entirety, so we're just facilitating people being able to come and talk. Since 2004, we've had 121 time talks, and on October 3rd of 2014, we had our exact 100th time talk, like to the day. I think it was like the 100th time talk, so it was very exciting for us. So I'm glad that we've seen such growth in that program. But I think it's pretty useful. I think a lot of civic engagement is allowing people to talk about the things that they're interested in, and when you have people willing to present over a particular topic they feel passionately about, you're letting them know that you're like interested, and you're kind of getting that knowledge like out to the community and the public. And so it's always very exciting to see people talking about the things that they care about. Our Ben Franklin papers are a project that we do with 5th graders. Dr. Cecil Curry deeded these Ben Franklin papers to us from the 1767 Pennsylvania Gazette to this library, and they have an appraised value of $35,000. So that's pretty impressive, and it's very exciting that that's something that we have and that we're able to integrate it and use it so often in our community. There was a proposal done by Forsyth Library and the American Democracy Project in different academic departments for the Ben Franklin papers. So we have elementary schools come and do programs in the library and see these papers and sort of talk and learn more about Ben Franklin. And it's a pretty exciting program. Our goals with that program sort of mean integrating the Fort Hays State University community better into the Hays community, and that includes ADP. We obviously like the opportunity to get our name and the center's name and Forsyth Library's name out there and show them the wonderful things that we're doing here. Because we have some great resources here at the library, and allowing young students to sort of teaching them, especially about Ben Franklin, who is such a staple in American history, is an important step towards getting students from a very young age interested in civic engagement. I think last year we had something like 480 students come through, and someone can correct me because I'm sure that somebody had better numbers than I did. But it's just very exciting to see all the little kids running around, and it's exciting to get to help them learn some stuff. And I had fun. So some other successful events we have. I promise we have more. That page is just blank because we couldn't quite narrow it down. We've hosted public forums in the past when there are different elections. We had one right after spring break for the City Commission and the Board of Education elections, and those were very, very successful. I was quite happy, and we had a lot more community involvement than I had anticipated. So that was exciting. Again, it's an opportunity for us to reach out to the community. We have Constitution Day on campus, and Constitution Day is September 17th, where we're giving people information about the Constitution and I think we definitely pass out free T-shirts as well. So people sort of stop by our table, and this past year we had little buttons, and the button said what is your favorite right, or what would you change about the Constitution? So that was an opportunity to get students to think critically about the Constitution and the way that it continues to affect our lives today. Some other things that we've done on campus are We try and introduce people to civic engagement opportunities, just through like voter registration. We work with Turbo Vote, which is a national program that it's a really easy way for students to sign up to register to vote, and they can get paperwork emailed to them. It's just a lot quicker, and it makes that process so much easier. And we all kind of know that it's hard to get college students, especially, to become civically engaged because they're doing kind of a lot of stuff, and so they've just sort of streamlined the process. And so we utilize that technology pretty often. I mean, we do a lot of really, really cool things on campus, and I have to say that this is something that is really important to me. I really am so happy that I have this opportunity to work in this building. It's almost exactly what I wanted to do. I remember when I came here freshman year, walking past the ADP table at the back to school picnic, and I said, "Can I join that club?" And they said, "No, it's an office." And then later the next year, one of my sorority sisters, Carolyn Campbell, said, "There's a position opening in this office that you had talked about earlier." And I was like, how lucky am I? But I have really, really enjoyed this opportunity. That was pretty quick, so I hope that you guys have some questions for me or some comments.
Well, Vivian, what do you enjoy the most of all the events you do and all the things you're involved in? Do you have one project that stands
My
out?
favorite event that we've been involved in so far would have to be the public forum that we held. I'm a big purporter of, that was the one for the USD, that was the one for the Board of Education and the City Commission. I think that I think that local government is like, has the capacity to influence like the most lives, especially here in our community. So we see a lot of the things that the City Commission and the Board of Education are doing, especially with like the changes we're seeing at the state level in government. They have a lot to deal with, and I think that the decisions they're making are going to be the ones that most closely and directly influence our lives, or at least the lives of people in Hayes. And so giving, and then seeing like the response of the community and seeing their willingness to answer questions or to ask questions and to come to that event, it just gave me, it was very rewarding to see like all that work pay off into people who were interested in like being civically engaged, especially in local government. So I was very, very excited for that opportunity to be a part of that. And I know Morgan was as well, and it went off so well. We were so worried, and it worked very well. And that was a lot of Dr. Gould. You certainly helped a lot with that, and we saw like a lot of different departments helping, and we had community, and the chamber was helping, and it was this big integration of all of these entities, and it turned out very well. So I was quite excited with that.
I should use the term family, but it was really a team.
Yeah,
They really
definitely.
made that happen. Let me ask you, what's the status of the American Democracy Project website?
Of the website?
Yeah.
Like our website for Fort Hayes?
For ADP?
Okay. We're moving the website back to so it connects back to the regular Fort Hayes website. I guess in the past that the website that Fort Hayes had was like less functional than it is today, and so we had a person in the office who like their only job was to work on our website so that it was like functional. But since the Fort Hayes platform has become so much more easy to use and like easier for students to learn stuff off of, so we're working on putting some of that info, or actually like moving all of the information over to like the regular Fort Hayes website. So when you type in the Center for Civic Leadership, it will take you to a page with all of our information on it.
So is there a site plan that somebody's working off of?
I don't think so. There's not a specific ADP site.
Okay.
So I think we're just moving, I think each project is moving over back to the regular website.
So if I were your student or a parent or somebody at the national level and I typed in FHSU ADP, I would not find the site.
I don't think you wouldn't find a specific site. We do have pages. Well, I mean, you would still find the site. I don't know that it is, it's updated. The site is updated. We're just moving that information back to the Fort Hayes site. So I don't know that it'll continue to be like functional. We're like working on sort of phasing that out, I think. I'm pretty sure that's something that our project coordinator is working on more closely. So she could give you some better details, but I think I've got it. I think that's good.
No, I did look you up on the Fort Hayes website, and you do come up with your own page. And
Well, that's good news.
yeah, and there's the menu on the top that talks about civic, Center for Civic Leadership.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it looks nice.
What are some of your goals for next year?
Some of my goals?
Or the ADP's goals?
Well,
that
I
you
mean,
wanna work on?
yeah, obviously to grow like all of the initiatives we currently have. So we saw an increase of about 200 followers on our Twitter pages this year and our Tiger Talkback pages. And so we definitely want to continue to grow that. We want to be reaching as many people as possible. We want to do more with the community. We had tried to have some programs that like for different like nonprofits in the community that exist, and that program wasn't as successful as we would have liked it to be. So we're sort of looking at moving things around and seeing more ways that we can integrate ourselves into the local Hayes community, because when we've done that successfully, it's been very, very successful. So we want people to come to look at Fort Hays and know ADP as something that not only serves students, but the wider Hayes community as well.
One of the things that goes along with that question is that one of the reasons for the digital board over in Starbucks, beyond the fact that Starbucks was willing to go ahead and work with us and whatever, we still haven't been able to replicate the page over there in the classroom. And that was one of the things I wanted to do in terms of instructors being able to use that board and look at some of the responses as teaching points or as provocative points for discussion in class. We just haven't got that far, so I guess I'm planning to see. You're new, they're like, oh.
All right, I'll take some notes and bring it back to it'll be good. We'll look into that, definitely.
I just think it'd be very valuable for instructors to have in the classroom the board in front of them. We could certainly take a response, a tweet, and put it on the board over there, but you can't bring the whole board up in the classroom.
Yeah. That would be neat.
And Derek Johnson was working on that at CDC, but I know he's been busy, so.
I see a potential actually for further collaboration between ADP and the library for Constitution Day, because I was thinking of the extensive government documents collection we have upstairs, which I happen to be in charge of. But we could do something like show students how to use congress.gov, say, like have a little handout, and stay abreast of like what legislation is being introduced and how does this relate to the Constitution and so on.
No, that would actually be very, very, very cool. Because the Constitution Day is neat, but again, we're looking at stuff that is like, it's like really, really old, and people kind of are already like, I don't know what the Constitution is, but it's exciting. Like that would be cool if we could sort of connect that to like a modern idea. Definitely. So I'm glad you said something. These are good ideas.
And
Open your mouth, your mouth hard.
Right. That's my blessing and my curse.
You'll be getting an email. Pretty quick. Sure.
But yeah, and especially with people in the news are interpreting the Constitution like in drastically different ways.
Uh-huh.
And, that can end the debate on campus, saying like this bill is this interpretation of the Second Amendment, which is different from another person's.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's cool.
If I could suggest a co-conspirator, Brian Bennett, has been responsible for Constitution Day, and since it's obviously a national responsibility of all public colleges and universities, Brian would welcome your input and your cooperation.
And he brings his class upstairs with him.
Right. Well, Brian's the guy that's been doing it all. So. Beyond the T-shirts and all the rest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Be cool.
Has there been any one of these programs that have really exceeded the expectation?
Okay, so when I came here, I was very, very new the last time we had Ben Franklin papers. That was like, I think it was like my 4th week, and all I remember was Morgan just sort of running around, and she was doing so many things, and I didn't know really what Morgan was doing, but I knew that I had to do whatever she told me to, because she was getting more, and I think that she was surprised that Ben Franklin papers went so well. I know that she was worried that it wouldn't work out, but it definitely did, and so she was certainly excited by that. When we did the buttons for Constitution Day, I was surprised that those worked at all. I thought people would just sort of blow it off, but I saw people wearing their buttons, and I saw people with on their backpacks a couple weeks later, and I was sort of surprised by that. Also, the Tiger Talkback. Sometimes I'm always surprised with like sort of the clarity and the really like critical responses that I'm getting. Sometimes we'll get like responses that are like, because you can only have 140 characters, so we'll get like 2 and 3 like tweet responses to some of these questions that are just really nuanced, and I guess I sort of underestimated like the ability of like the rest of my peers to think critically, which is, I mean, probably a problem on my part, but it's definitely shown me that we have really intelligent people here who are really willing to think critically about some issues. And I wish that I could show this board to like a lot of people, because they tend to think that college students are apathetic, and that's certainly not a lot of what I've seen. Or if they're not apathetic, then they just don't care or aren't willing to, or aren't like capable of making a response, which is certainly not true. And then again, the public forum, that really exceeded my expectations. I thought we'd have like maybe 4 people there, but we didn't. We did much better than that. So.
I think one of the things that has potential, and that is, as we think about a new general education program, you know, the whole motivation for much of this was primarily getting all students, not just the management or political science or whatever, more engaged, and certainly more engaged in civic kinds of things. An element of the American Democracy Project or something in the new general education program would be a great opportunity to kind of move this across campus as opposed to just selected departments. So somebody has to be an advocate. As they say in Washington, I guess the only people that don't have a lobbyist are the poor. In terms of American Democracy Project, you're people like yourself, but you're not directly involved in the deliberations and the choice making that goes on. But I think it's an opportunity for the American Democracy Project to just basically expand in a way that it has not in the past. So
That would definitely be cool.
Yeah.
I'll send some more emails. I wish I had some like paper. You guys got all these ideas.
Right. That's all. It's a library involved too.
Yeah. No, and it's exciting. Cool stuff.
Well, thank you, Vivian. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, nice job.
Yeah, thank you.